Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol maximum security walkthrough, and this is chapter 6 called Below. And this video, of course, staying true to the pattern I have implanted, this video is part 1 out of 2. And here at the beginning, this level actually starts off quite calmly, so it gives me time to talk about a few things. Because I've been doing some upgrades, and there is also a trophy in this game for upgrading a weapon to its max, installing all the upgrades. I think it's called You Need a Gun, something like that. If you're going for that trophy, I would recommend that you focus on upgrading the grip glove to the max. Otherwise, if you want to do it, you can also upgrade the hand cannon to max. But that comes with a twist. Make sure before you fully upgrade the hand cannon, you save your game, because there is a reason I do the upgrades I do in this game. It is in mostly to make it to make these videos go a little bit faster, so I have more damage output. But there are, or I think it's a more correct way, there is a reason why I don't do certain upgrades. Because with the riot gun, the shotgun, I upgraded for the magnum rounds, the clip capacity and the stability. And you may have noticed that there is another upgrade, the final upgrade for the gun, which I think, I can't really remember, but I think like a grenade launcher or something. And the reason I don't install that upgrade is, first of all, it's really expensive. It costs like 2,700 credits or something along those lines. I think that money can be much better invested, because the only time I really use the shotgun, more or less, is in boss fights. And when using the grenade launcher setting, it uses up multiple shotgun shells. I don't know exactly how many, I think it's like 3 or 4 shotgun shells per grenade. And there is a trade-off. Like, you waste more ammo, you deal more damage. Fine. But I think the damage dealt is not in in relation to ammo spent, if you get what I mean. Because the damage output you get with just doing the magnum round upgrade is sufficient. Having the grenade launcher installment, that is just wasteful, because I think you will burn through your ammo faster and not deal as much damage as you would have over time if you just used the regular magnum rounds. But if you want to go for that trophy, getting You Need a Gun, I think it's called You Need a Gun, do it with the hand cannon or the grip glove. And if you do it with the hand cannon, just reset checkpoint afterwards. Or not reset checkpoint, make sure to save your game before, because that is quite interesting with this game. Because I have noticed that if you save your game manually in between when the game saves automatically, you can see like those little cigarette burns. But if you save your game manually, it will still, in my experience, like push you back to the latest checkpoint, like that little cigarette burn down in the corner. What the fuck was that? But that guy we faced off there, I have trimmed out actually quite a cool cutscene, but I had to do it because this is a walkthrough, not a blind playthrough. And that is a new enemy type that is encountered the first time in this chapter. We will be seeing them in this and the next chapter. And they are a bit dissimilar to the other enemies in this game. There's a trophy linked to them called Giving Back. Because these enemies are called Blind Ones. And the name is quite self-explanatory. You get a tutorial hint there, like move quietly. So make sure to crouch. We will be crouching throughout most of this level. It says over there to right, don't make a sound. Because, as I said, their name, Blind Ones, is self-explanatory. They are blind. Completely blind. They can't see shit. I don't know if it's that they don't even have eyes. So they use audio locating. If you stand up and walk or stand up and run, they will immediately hear you and they will come charging at you. If they do so, that is actually not a big problem, because they are... Because when you see these fellas, you might think clickers in The Last of Us. Clickers, by far, I think, in The Last of Us is one of the most dangerous enemies you can come across. I will take a bloater over a clicker any day. Because a clicker usually can kill you in one hit. The blind ones, though, they're like if you took a clicker and defanged them. The only danger with the blind ones is that you never run into just one. You usually run into big packs of them, so how they kill you is basically by overwhelming you. So, but the interesting thing is, their hearing, as I said, they hear very well. If you stomp around or if you run around, they will notice you. By the way, here, start crouching, because there is one forged to the wall. So we're gonna move up very slow. He gets loose. And we just wait a few seconds so I was sure he didn't move in my direction. And as soon as he is dead, we're gonna do a little right turn in here, and we are gonna pick up our second weapon schematic. You might remember back in was chapter 2 or 3, I forget. We picked up the schematic for the Skunk Gun. It was in chapter 3, I think. Well, here is the one for the tactical pistol. And of course, this is always the problem. My inventory is always full, because I go into complete hoarder mode. And now, actually, since we have gotten a shotgun, we have upgraded it. We've done the upgrades I would recommend you do. From now on, if you want to do more upgrades, I highly recommend you sink all your money into upgrading the grip glove. Because the first boss fight will be made easier by that. It is, as I've said before, it is in no way mandatory. I think you can actually go through this entire game just using the stun baton. You never need to use firearms. But it will make the first part of the boss fight a bit easier and a lot quicker. So me personally, I'm gonna focus on upgrading that. By the way, be very careful. And that guy, he spawns in out of nowhere. I have footage, I think, of me, because I was checking. I knew he was gonna be there, but I looked down over the railing and he isn't there. He spawns in while you're climbing down the stairs. And with these blind ones, as I said, usually they come out in droves or big hordes. And if you don't know this level, I would recommend that you more or less always crawl. Because when you crawl, you're absolutely safe. And they will not, unlike a clicker, you know, a clicker, if you crouch too fast, they would spot you, or their echolocating would pick you up and they would come charging at you. That is not the case with these fellows. It's quite interesting. I would love to have been around when they designed this enemy. Because as long as you're crouched, unless you bump into one of them, you will not get detected. And now I saw with the grip glove here, all the top tier upgrades, which are well worth installing, I would say, are 2,700 credits each. The only weapon that doesn't have that expensive of top upgrade is the hand cannon. I think the final upgrade for that costs like 1,000 credits or something. It's an unnecessary upgrade. I would say just install it if you want the trophy, then uninstall it. And I think I talked about the trophy giving back, which is a bit of a punny title, because that trophy is for stabbing 5 of these. I think I may have mentioned this already, but stabbing 5 of these enemies in the back. So I would say this is probably one of the absolute easiest trophies you can unlock in this entire game, because the blind ones are in abundance throughout this level. I would say it is a bigger challenge not to unlock the trophy than it is getting it. And I think I like the idea of this level. Actually, I think it's quite fun that they mix things up, because up to this point this has been quite a straight on, right in your face action game. By the way, I think this is an active pod. Yes, because you hear that little audio cue where things get dramatic for a second. Ooh, I had forgotten that there were a bunch of blind ones in there. And that is the thing. I think, yes, they trigger when you move into the room. So make sure you shoot that pod standing where I was. And when they are walking about, this may feel very intimidating, because I think there's a total of 5 of them or something. Maybe 4. They have more or less the little set patrol patterns, or the little areas they will patrol within. So if you stay out of that area, they will not catch you. They will not move out of their comfort zone unless you make a noise and they notice you. And also another thing that works in your favor. I said they will not attack you. If you're crouching, they will not attack you unless you bump into them. Also, when you are in a killing animation, if you're backstabbing one of them and you are in the animation of killing him, you may bump into them, but they will not react. So as I said, they are like clickers that have been totally defanged, which is, I think, very odd way to choose to design it, but that's the way they decide to roll, so that's the way we play it. But what I was gonna say was, I think I like the idea of this level. I think it's a fun switch up, because as I mentioned, it's been quite a straightforward action game as you've seen up to this point, but this really changes things. And sometimes they choose to do this in games, like they have one chapter that stands out from the rest. I remember, for example, in... By the way, there you got a demonstration, because there is an active pod. If it hasn't happened to you, that is what can happen if you get too close. I was shielded by the cliff wall, which was a good thing, so it couldn't latch onto me, but it's always good to be able to demonstrate what I've been talking about. So that is the reason why we shoot the pods, because they will try to snipe at you. But as I said, sometimes they throw in one of these levels in a game that is an anomaly, that stands out from the rest. And I think sometimes it can be very fun. The first time I was playing this level, I was really nervous because at first I didn't know exactly how aware they were. By the way, that's a spitter, so dispose of him as quickly as you can. And it reminded me a lot of The Last of Us and first impressions. And as I said, the clickers are no joke. One of the scariest enemies I think I've ever encountered in a game. But sometimes doing these anomaly levels works great. I think in this game it works quite well. It is a fun switch up, especially on the first time you're playing it. This time when I was recording, I felt, because that is one of the reasons it is quite a long level overall, and it also contains our first real boss fight at the end of it, but that is in the second video, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it prolongs the level quite a bit, because you have to move slowly, or you do not have to move slowly, but it's the absolute easiest way. And this is also the level where you can really rack up money, since you can go through this and more or less just do stealth kills all the time. If you're at full health when this level begins, or if you start picking up health very early on, you will be able to rack up a lot of credits and a lot of ammo. The game is a little bit stingy when it comes to dropping shotgun ammo, which I think is the only ammo you should buy. At this point, if you have any hand cannon ammo, just sell it. Keep a full clip. Anything in excess to that, sell it. Because the only ammo we will need, because going into the boss at the end of this chapter, I will be stocking up on what's it called? Shotgun shells. Because that will be the main thing I will use against the boss. I know you can use melee to take him out, so if you run out of shells, you can still beat the boss. Which is a good thing, because as I've said, this game saves on itself, and there is a checkpoint. There are 2 phases to the boss fight, technically 3. But the game will save on its own, so there is a checkpoint in between each phase. But I'm not... I'm sorry about that. Sometimes I get a little bit ahead of myself. Anyone who's watched this channel knows this, that sometimes I get a bit carried away. Let's talk a little bit about this area. Because if you're sitting where I'm sitting, a bit back, you are completely safe from these fellas. They will walk up a little bit towards you, but they will not move out of this little circular area, which is not the correct term, but they will move around that square thing in the middle. And you might be tempted to get a bit more aggressive here. I know I was. Sometimes you can like pick them up and throw them into the spikes, which will make things go a little bit quicker. Because this is a lot. If you want to play this really safe, you turn this into a waiting game. Stay around this area. That will stay behind this shovel thing. I don't know what it's called in English. The thing to the left on the truck. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. But let the enemies come to you. Because as I've said, there are quite a few of them, and I think more enemies will spawn in. So make it easy on yourself, just let them come to you. And I think that might be the last one. And if you move up and more enemies were to spawn in, just back up. go back to that area, you will be completely safe. And also you can use, why not use your grip glove and throw them into spikes? Just be careful so you don't drain your entire battery. Because that is also a thing. When you pick them up and throw them into spiked walls, that also for some reason doesn't make a sound. What? How? Why? I don't know. So basically the only sounds that can get their attention is you running, or you walking, or firing a firearm. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. That is one of those scary moments. I remember when I recorded this, because I was sure he was gonna move over to the right. And when he turned towards me, I was like, whoops, did I just mess up? But no. I think that is one of those very conscious choices the game designers made. Like, I know players will try to advance quickly. And also, this level was made easier, I think, in a patch, because the stab icon that you get when you come up behind them, I think they made it so it would react when you're at a further distance and you don't have to be straight in behind them. Because if I recall correctly, when this game first came out, I think it was a bit more strict, that you had to be quite straightly? Is that a real word, or did I just make that up? Either way, you need to be more directly, that's the word I was looking for, directly behind them in a more straight line. So it became a bit more lenient. And this is a bit of a safe haven. In here we can go and sell a lot of stuff, because I think I've racked up quite a few things at this point. Yes, I have. And you saw me keeping health injectors and pistol bullets. Don't make my mistake. Don't repeat my mistake. Sell them. And these lockers that you see on the ground that's glowing red, you cannot open them. You see, they're glowing blue, and as you come close to them, they will glow red. That is because this is where we'll fight the boss. And they contain a lot of useful resources. But I think it's a great design choice that they are there, but you cannot open them, so you will not deplete the resources before you get to the boss fight. Before we get there, we need to power up that platform. So that is what we're gonna do right now. But once again, I'm gonna try to talk about anomaly levels. Because there are times where I think it hasn't worked as well as I said. I think this level is quite fun. When you replay it, especially the first time, it's super fun. It feels very tense. When you replay it, I think to me, it is a little bit slow. Because I know I have to go through this very quietly, very slowly. But sometimes, I remember back when I played Dishonored 2, there is a level in that game called A Crack in the Slab, Mission 7, where they throw in a completely new game mechanic. That's the difference in between this level and, for example, that one. Because sometimes anomaly levels can be fun when they utilize the game mechanics that are already in the game. But sometimes they decide to like force in a completely new either mechanic or just switch things up in a way that has not been seen throughout. Which I think is really odd, and it always feels so misplaced. For example, in Dishonored 2, in Mission 7, A Crack in the Slab, you get a thing called the timepiece. If you have watched my video or played the game yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For anyone out there that hasn't, the timepiece looks basically like a mechanical heart with a little sun fan in it. And it lets you travel from present day back 5 years back in time, I think it is, to one fateful night when Aramis Stilton, the owner of the mansion, went insane. And I think the basic idea of that level is fun, because you can like put up the fan and see the two timelines. When you're in the past, you can look for that and see the present. And you have to use it both to get past guards and also to progress throughout the mansion, because in present day there might be a wall that has crumbled and fallen down, so you have to go back in time where it was a hole and get past it and move back to the present. You understand what I mean, even though I am absolute shit at explaining, trying to get my point across. But the problem I had with that level is some parts of it felt badly designed. There is one particular part of the level that was really hard to get past, and it might be that my strategy was lacking, but I felt it was a bit arbitrary whether you would get past or not. So there was a place where just doing a quick save was absolutely vital, because it was very RNG whether you would get spotted or not. By the way, in this area I got a little bit lucky there. When you have this little lemming train of blind ones, I would recommend, if you want to do this really safe, wait for the last one. Because usually they will just follow each other, and you can go for the last one and just chop your way up to up to the front. So I put myself in an unnecessarily risky position. But either way, going back to Dishonored. And as I said, I thought the game mechanic with the timepiece, moving back and forth with timelines, it was a great idea. On paper, it was amazing. In practice, it worked somewhat. I thought it would have been so much better if you would have had, say, the timepiece for the entire game, but you would get it like boosted during that mission. That would have made it a lot more fun, because that's the only time you use it. You go into, oops, I'm not entirely sure what happened there, because throwing that enemy, it seemed like he clipped on thin air, which is really strange. But the timepiece, you get it at the beginning of the mission and it breaks at the end of it, so you never use it before, you never use it after. And it feels so odd because it is a change up, and it's 7 missions in a game that I think has like 9 levels or something, I can't really remember. So it's super strange design. I don't know, by the way, that could be quite vital to say. If you get attacked by these fellas, I said they are nothing like clickers, and that is true. They will attack you just like a regular biophage. They can also mutate, so don't be scared if you get attacked or get spotted, because it's just like fighting regular enemies that we have done up to this point. So if you want to play this level as a regular action-packed level, feel free to do so, but I prefer to do it this way because it makes the gathering of resources easier, because there will be a lot less risk of getting attacked. But also, as I said, the timepiece, very odd game mechanic choice. And sometimes, I think I also talked about that in that video. Another great example when they throw in a curveball is in Dead Space. The original Dead Space 1. They had a turret fight. You sit in a turret twice in that game. The first time, it is super hard. Second time, it's not that hard. But the first time you have to shield the Ishimura from a meteor shower. And I remember there was a trophy in that game for beating that with at least 50% shield lift. I think the best result I've gotten was like 4% shield lift. Due to a bit of a lacking aiming mechanics, and also that was super hard. And there was really no way of practicing it because the pattern of the meteorites or asteroids was completely RNG. Which is also fun. You throw in this wonky, janky fucking mechanic that you can't practice because there is no way of getting better at this. You just need to get lucky. And that is a great example of what I talked about before. When I killed that first one, I pushed him into the second one. And you saw him getting a bit anxious. He was like, who the fuck is pushing me? Don't stand up. Don't panic. He will just move back to his original position. So, don't be afraid. He will get like, what the fuck is going on in here? But as long as you don't panic, he won't panic. And before we move on, make sure to pick that up. And we're almost at the end of part 1. God damn. We're moving forward, people. But I also like the setting of this level. By the way, in here to the left, there is a pod. And this is very well placed. That is there. That is so sadistically placed. Right next to a shop. And that is, I will bet, one of the most conscious choices in this entire game. Like, we will put it there just to scare the pants off the players. But now all that remains in this part of the video, where that was a very unnecessary shot. Because I was thinking there might be an active pod, even though I'm standing 3 feet away from it and it hasn't activated. But anyway, that is the end of part 1, and I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.